All right, guys, today I am taking you with me on a little peek inside my biz. I've been planning this video for quite a while and I'm so excited to finally share it with you. You may have already seen some of the behind the scenes of how I plan my personal life, but none of that has included my business. And I'm a really big fan in keeping separate spaces for both your biz and your life because boundaries. As small business owners, it can be really easy to blur the lines between life and biz. So having those separate spaces helps keep those boundaries in place, which helps prevent burnout. That being said, there is still overlap and connectivity between the two because you have to, it's Notion, right? I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit nervous to share the business side of things. I don't know why, because you have already seen like everything that I do in my personal life, but it's okay. We're gonna pull back the curtains and take a peek. All right, so here we are inside of my business hub. It is laid out a little bit differently than I have my life hub laid out. I just like to be able to see all of these different areas and what is going on there right at the top of my page. And then below that, we start getting into things that look a little bit familiar. I have this week's tasks showing here. I have my usual quick ad over here on the side because those are really easy to access things and I want to be able to see them very quickly. I also have my goals over here on the right side, and those actually switch between my goals and my projects. I do break down my goals into projects on the biz side of things because I feel like you can get lots of different things happening and this helps me stay a little bit more organized. And then you can also change the view here of our tasks in the middle to show ongoing brand partnerships. Now, this is not something that I use a lot, so it's pretty empty, but it is nice to be able to see it right here from the front page. And then over here on the left-hand side, I have upcoming meetings. So I do meet with my mom, who is my bookkeeper, once a month. We talk about what is going on, so we're both on the same page with everything, and I'll show you a little bit more in the meeting template later. And then below that, I also have my content calendar and then also my content status to see where all of my pieces of content are in the process of creation. But that is the entire front page. So let's go ahead and dive into each of these little pages and take a look at what's there. So first off, I have my branding page here. This is where pretty much everything for my brand lives, so I can easily find it. I have my logos up here at the top, both my logo and my submark, and then below that I have guidelines on how to use that too, just to make sure that I am staying within my general idea for my brand when I'm using it. And then below that I have any key elements. These are those fun things that make your brand you. Then I also like to grab my fonts, my brand colors, how I like to use that information, and then also my bio and headshots are here too, so I can reference those. And then below that I have an area for branding photos, and now I don't have any like fancy branding photos yet. It's gonna come soon. But for now I just have a mood board of things that kind of make me think of my brand and have the brand colors so that I can get into that headspace. And then information about my brand personality and brand voice over here on the side. And then below that, I have a business description, my ideal client avatar. So if we go into that, we can take a look. There is a template here that helps you create your ideal avatar. So it walks you through all these different things that you can be thinking about. I actually like to kind of base mine off of real people that I know because it makes it a little bit more tangible for me. So Bailey, if you're watching this, what's up, girl? Then back on my branding page, I also have a link to my reviews and testimonials, and then my UVP, which is my unique value proposition. I keep all of this in my branding area because it is a huge part of my brand, and that gives you a very holistic view of everything as you're planning things out. If you love this page, I am actually giving it to you for free. So be sure to check the description for the link on how to grab that page. Then below that, I have a place for any of my biz course notes. I'm huge on business education, so as I take courses and things like that, I can make notes on those. And I also have a little template here for if you have a course that's based off modules. So, you know, the module and lesson kind of classic layout. I like to have something set up for that because a lot of people format their courses that way, and then that helps me stay a little bit more organized as I'm going through that. Below that, I have my random biz thoughts. This is similar to my random thoughts on my homepage. It's just all of the business ones. So very similar to the one you saw in my personal life tour. And then below that, I have SOPs. Now, this is a place where I hold all of my operating procedures so that if I have to have somebody else do something or if I forget how to do something, I can always come back here and reference this. I love this. I think everybody needs to have one of these. It's one of the most important assets you can have for your business. So please set up an SOP page. I personally have mine as a wiki in Notion, and I'm actually planning a separate video on SOPs, how to create an SOP database in Notion, why you need them, and then how to actually make your SOPs. So be sure to keep an eye out for that video. It is coming very soon, but I do want to show you what this looks like. Inside of each SOP, I have an actual tutorial on how to complete that specific procedure. And something I love to use is Tango. It's going to actually capture your screen as you're doing things, and then it kind of walks you through the process. And so that makes it very easy and quick to make SOPs. And again, I will talk about this in a different video later. I also include passwords here, but I do want to talk about passwords really quick because I've had questions about this in the past. I do not include passwords within my templates that I sell on my website because some people are kind of particular about adding passwords into Notion, and I do not blame you. There is technically not end-to-end security within Notion, and so some people don't want to be putting passwords into that. So I do not encourage you to do that. It is up to you. Obviously, I am putting mine in. I think the risk is low for me, and it's just nicer to have access to everything. So that's just a little side note, you do you. Next up, we have Biz Goal Planning. So this is gonna look super familiar if you've seen my goal planner before. It is my exact same goal planner, but I do like to have a separate planning area for my goals for both my business and my personal, because I really like to be able to think through what needs to happen in both of those areas of my life in a separate place. And so this helps me do that. If you're interested in more about how I do my goal planning, be sure to check out my goal planning videos for more. Below that, I have my projects, and this is a little bit different. I keep my projects separate from my goals so that I can actually connect them to my goals. And then within that, my tasks can be connected to those goals too. So just to give a little example, I have some projects to create the planners that I am actually launching today, spoiler alert. And so when I do that, I go ahead and create the project itself. I write a little overview about what it is that I am doing, and then I can also connect that project to my goals. And then with that, I connect those tasks to my goals too. So basically what happens with this is that when I check off a task, if it's related to both my goals and my projects, it's like double dipping and finishing both my goals and my projects at the same time. So you can see that progress bar go up in both my goal for, releasing more digital offerings and then also for creating my planners. So that's kind of how my projects work. I do like to have these kind of broken down because they're a little bit more loose than goals. I'm not necessarily planning them by quarter like I am my goals, but I do have a status that helps me decide what I am currently focusing on, what I'm going to be focusing on next, and then I can also kind of hold those ideas for later here and then also reference any of the projects I have already finished in the past. So that is how I organize all of my projects for my business. Something else I also really like to do is annual planning. And so this is something that helps me keep my personal plans at the forefront so I am not overrunning my business onto my personal life. I definitely think it's important to put your personal life first or else you are going to suffer tremendously. So I always come in here and put in my holidays first for the year. Then I look at my personal plans, get those on the calendar. And then lastly, I fill in my marketing calendar and any business plans that I have. And so I go ahead and put all of those into this annual planning calendar so I can reference them. And I keep this calendar in multiple different areas throughout my template. I have it in my personal area. So when I'm doing my weekly planning, I can reference it. I also have it in my content creation area so I can reference it there too, make sure I'm not planning a huge amount of content when I'm supposed to be on vacation or something like that. So it is something that I like to have in here so I can reference it as I'm planning other things. Let's dive into the content hub next. And guys, this area is such a beefy area of my business planner. There is so much going on here. Let's go ahead and start over here on the left-hand side and work our way down. So we have our social media strategy first. This is where I create my posting schedule. I keep it here in a little toggle. And then I also have my content pillars listed as well as my sales phases for my content. Now, this is my secret sauce to my content strategy. It is not something I created. I am by no means a marketing expert, so don't be coming to me for your marketing, but I do love using the sales funnel phases for my content planning. And this is just something that you can Google and look it up. It's a fairly well-known thing, but you have generally 3 phases. One is for growth, one is for nurture, and one is for sales. And so inside each of these, I just have a little focus and a place to write down what type of content I'm writing to remind myself as I am creating for these specific phases. And the way that this works is that I then plan out my phases in this phase blocking calendar here. And so for example, you can see that I am working through my business template launch right now. I have been doing a growth phase in August, and then September was a nurture phase. And then lastly, I'm doing my little sales phase here for the next couple days as I'm launching these templates. But this is how I stay on topic for why I'm creating my content, because it's so easy to just be like, oh, I'm creating content for this and for this without even knowing why you're creating the content in the first place. So this really helps me hone in on what I am doing specifically. And then you also have a list view of all of the phase blocks that are coming up in the future so that you can reference those and keep those in mind as you're planning out your content. And so I come here and I fill this out first. It's like the first thing I do. And then I'm pretty much done with my social media strategy unless I ever need to come back and change it up a little bit. But when I'm creating those sales phases, I actually do it mostly in my content brainstorm area. So let's go ahead and go here. This is where I create all of my content ideas, and I have questions here to help me with that brainstorming. I can reference my content pillars here. I can even see posts that I might want to repurpose, and then I go ahead and create those phases that I was talking about. So I'll do growth, nurture, and then sales. Usually I do like 4 to 6 weeks on growth, 4 to 6 weeks on nurture, and then like 1 to 2 weeks on sales. And so if you're like, how does this even work? I'm so confused. Think about it this way. I like to use an example of a photographer because a lot of people think that photographers aren't going to be selling anything and this doesn't work. But let's think of it this way. If you're a photographer and you're going to have fall minis in the fall or something like that, I know a lot of photographers do that. If you have fall minis coming up, maybe you want to spend the end of your summer growing your audience. Then a little bit closer to it, you're going to nurture them, show them all these awesome photos you take, why they want photos to keep and have those memories. And then you do a little sales phase. Hey, I'm launching my fall minis. You can sign up during this week. Go ahead and book right now. And so that's kind of how this works. It works for literally anybody. So it's kind of foolproof, to be honest, and you don't have to adopt it if you don't want, but I actually love it and it really helps me create content with purpose. Inside each of these phases that I create, I actually have a little bit of planning to help me too. This one I have not done yet, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. The general idea here is that you are brainstorming what makes you different, what you do differently, or maybe what people should be doing and what you think they're not doing, and then finding what it is that you do to make content on that. And that's gonna bring people in to see that, hey, you do something different. So once I brainstorm ideas for these few areas here, I go ahead and start creating content off of that. And the way I do that is I come down here and I'll press a little button. This is going to create a new YouTube video for me. This will be a new Instagram story or a new Instagram carousel. And then I can come in here and fill in those ideas with whatever things that I am thinking up as I'm doing my brainstorming. Once I have filled all that information in, I can just sort these, and that keeps my brainstorm area clean. And then to actually schedule my content, I come out here onto the front page where you can see my content calendar, and I drop open the schedule ideas tab, which has all of those ideas that I sorted from my brain dump area, and I can just easily drag and drop those into my calendar where I have free space. And quite honestly, this is my favorite part because it is just so much fun. Now, here on my front page, I also have my content phases so I can see where I am and everything. I also have my annual planning, as I mentioned before. I can see my content status and where I am in the process of creating all of these different pieces. And then I also have a place where I can repurpose my content. So this is going to show me all of my published content. And if I want to repurpose something, I can just come over here, check that, and it's going to show up in my repurpose area. And then lastly, I have all of my posts that I can find here and reference if I need to. When I'm actually ready to start creating my content, I can come over here to the content batching page, and it's going to show me where everything is based on my content creation process. So I always write my content first, then I film or create graphics, then I edit, make sure everything looks good, and then it's proofed, and then it's ready to go, and then I publish it. Now this ages off after about 2 weeks, so it's not just like got tons of published content here, but this does help me keep an eye on where I am in the process of things. And then when I'm ready to batch content, I can come in here and do each of these areas as I wish to. Now below that over here on the left side, I have a hub for each of my different social media platforms. So let's go ahead and pop into Instagram here so we can take a look. Inside, I have a place for my link. So this is a link to my profile and then my link in my bio. I have my Instagram metrics over here that I can reference. This is going to show me from all of my previous audits what my metrics were at. I can come here also and see the comparison between the last 2 months of metrics. So this is going to look at my last month versus the current month and compare how they're doing so I can see that, hey, I gained 31 followers, but my reach was really terrible this month, and then I can adjust as I need to from there. I can also see my previous social media audits, which is actually where I enter in all of those metrics to be calculated. And then below that is where I have all of my posts. So these are the posts that are getting ready to go out. And then these are all of the ones that I have published on Instagram. And that is how all of these pages look. I'm not going to go into each of them, but that is the general gist of each of these platform pages. Now, if you're loving what you're seeing so far, I am so excited to announce that the exact template that I use to organize my business and plan my content is now available in my template shop. You can grab the full biz planner to organize your entire business, or if you just want to grab the content planner, you totally can too. And if you want my full Notion system, you can grab the Entrepreneur Planner that includes all of my life templates and all of my business templates in one planning system. And to celebrate the launch of these templates, they are all on sale for 20% off and now through October 1st. So grab your template this weekend before this offer is gone. Now, inside each of my pieces of content, I actually have a place to plan everything out. So for example, this new story that we just created, I actually have a place to write out each of my story slides and include any stickers that I want to as I'm planning, which makes it actually super easy to post these stories later on my Instagram. And the same thing goes for any other piece of content. So over here, I have multiple different templates for these different pieces of content that's going to help me plan things out. So I know exactly what I'm supposed to be posting each day. Some of my pieces of content, I just include little to-dos over here as check boxes. But on some of them, like my YouTube videos, these are a little bit more in-depth and intense. I go ahead and actually have a connection to my task list. So if I press this button, there are going to be to-do items added to my list that I can then give a due date to. But this helps me keep track of some of these larger tasks that take a little bit more time than just writing an Instagram caption, for example. Then over here on the left-hand side, we have 2 more pages. One is my social media audit, so we can see what that looks like. I'm just gonna pop open the template here for you to take a look at. And every month I try to do an audit just to see how things are going. So I go through my Instagram, I look at my profile, I see what was working, maybe what didn't work so well, and then I can actually add in my metrics, which includes my followers, my engagement, the accounts I reach, saves, comments, things like that. So I can just track how my content is performing. And then I do that for each of these different platforms that I have. So I do that for my email, I do it for YouTube. I go ahead and do it for TikTok. And then at the bottom, it's going to give me an overview of my metrics based on all of those new metrics that I just added in. Then after I complete my audit, I can come down here, and this is actually going to bring up my brain dump area from my content brainstorming page. And if I have any content ideas based on my audit that I completed, I can add those in here, and then I sort through them later. Then back here on the front page is my social media metrics. Again, this is the same view of the metrics that you have seen a few different times. I have my email metrics, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And again, these are comparing the last 2 months, so I can see the growth in my counts over time. Now, I also have some caption hooks down here, but this is a resource that I personally paid for, so sorry guys, not showing you that one. Next up, I have my freebies. This is just a place where I can keep track of all of the active freebies that I have going on right now. So I can come here and easily grab the link to the opt-in form or the link to the actual freebie location if I need to. I can see my retired freebies that I have here, and then also any freebies that I am working on and creating. So this is a very simple page, but an important one because I'm always trying to find these links, and it's really nice to have them all at one place. Now, similar to the freebies page, I have an affiliate links page, and this is where I can easily grab any affiliate links I have. Now, I don't have a ton. I am not a big affiliate person, but this does help me keep these links organized so I can easily grab what I need. And for example, some of these are a little bit more in depth, like this Amazon one that I have. It's not just a single link, but over here in the details, I have a link over to my SOP on how to create an Amazon link so that I know I can go there and remember how to do that if I need to, or if someone else needs to do it for me, they can come here to find that information. Now I have another reference database here. This is my reviews and testimonials. I am really bad at collecting reviews, guys. So if you send me a good review on my templates, catch me asking you to use it as promotional materials because I am constantly forgetting to ask. So I do like to collect reviews here that people either send me over email or send in my DMs that is a little bit different from the ones that are showing up on my product pages. I do have Judge Me that is going to collect reviews for me. So to an extent, this isn't a huge deal, but if I do get good reviews from people over Instagram or on my email, I do like to save those so I can use them later. And so I track the review. I also connect which product or service it is for. And then I also mark whether or not I have permission to use it because I do think that is incredibly important to note. And then inside, I actually write down the review or I just drop the screenshot, whatever it is, so that I can come back and reference it when I need to. And I also love that I can reference it straight from my product and service pages too. So I think that is up next. Let's take a peek at the products and services. This is where I hold all of the things that I offer. First up, I have my products, so I can easily grab the links to those and see what's going on with those. And then I have a place for ones that I am creating, as well as any products that I have retired. I have not retired any yet, but who knows, maybe it'll happen one day. And then below that, I have the services that I'm offering. And again, same thing, I can see the ones that I'm working on creating and any that I retire. Inside each of my products and services, I'll go ahead and take a peek into this one so you can see. I have a place to mark the price, the URL, and then any of the images that are associated with that specific product or service. And then I can do a little bit of marketing practice. So I can do the product description, which is something I'm probably going to include on my website, as well as the highlights so that I am making sure that I'm using that in my marketing. This portion may look a little bit familiar. This is actually taken from the sales phase in my content phase planning. And this is going to help me think through any things that I should include in my marketing for that specific product. Now, I haven't done it with these specific products because these are older and I did not have this set up when I created these, but I'm going to be going through it on my new ones as I create those. And then below, as I mentioned before, you can see all the reviews related to that specific product. So if you need to grab them for any marketing materials, you can. And then if you want to plan on any FAQs, you can do that as well. Now on the products and services page, I also include a link to my actual shop and then my services too, so I can easily grab those links if I need to. And then down here, I show a little income overview so I can see how I'm doing with my income goals for both my products and my services. And so I will talk a little bit more about this when I get to the income tracking portion, but it is kind of nice to just see where I am with my goals from this page. Next, I have a little place for client projects. This page is actually a work in progress. I am going to be connecting it to my CRM, so as I have client projects come in, it will just automatically do its thing. So if you're interested in a little tour of what that looks like when I am finished creating that, let me know. It's going to be a fun process to create. The next up, I have my brand partnerships here. Now, again, I don't use brand partnerships a ton in my business model, but when I do have them, this is a really great resource for me. So inside each of my brand partnerships, I'll go ahead and look at the one I actually did complete this year, because that'll show you a little bit more what's going on. I have a place to write down a lot of the information that is going to come with brand partnerships. So one being the contact person, when the deliverables are due, when the content is going live, if that's what you have as the deliverable. Also, any information on the specific campaign, the rate for the campaign, and then whether or not it was paid. So below that, I write down all of the information for the campaign. I can keep track of the pinned comments here, any messaging guidelines that I was given, and then also what the deliverables are, any tasks that are associated with the specific brand partnership, and then any additional information that I want to keep track of here. So when I do get brand partnerships, I love using this because it does help me keep a really good track of what is going on, because they can feel kind of crazy when they do happen. And then again, over here, I have a little income overview of how things are going with brand partnerships. As I said before, I don't really rely on brand partnerships. So because I had one brand partnership, my percentage is crazy high, which I love to see, but maybe that'll be something for the future. Next up is the income tracking page. Now, before I dive into the income tracking page, I just want to say that I do not really like the trend on social media where everyone shares their income numbers. While it's definitely interesting and inspiring, I just think that it can become really braggy if it's happening too often. And so just know that that is not my intent with this page. I'm going to be showing you some of my actual income numbers because it does give you an idea of what is going on with the calculations and the graphs and everything that we're gonna see here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a peek at the income tracking page here. What I actually look at most on this page is this income overview right here. It's going to be giving me an overview on this month based on the goals that I set and the income that I actually had. And then I can also take a peek at last month because that'll be one full month that gives a little bit of a better picture of what actually is going on each month. And then I can also see year to date and take a look at those goals too. After that, I have a graph of my total income by month, so I can kind of see if it's steady across the board or if some months are better or worse than others. And then I also have my year-to-date income by type, so I can see exactly which income stream is bringing me in the most income. Now, all of the numbers that this is actually pulling from live right down here. This is where my income goals are, and then I have my income actuals on this tab. And then from that, it's going to do all of this calculation right here, which is honestly just a really nice thing to be able to see at a glance in my Notion. Now, I do include my income goals table here in my goal planning section. So at the beginning of the year, when I do my goal planning, I can go ahead and add in all of my income goals at that time. And then at the end of the year, when I'm ready to reset, I can go ahead and press this button right here, and it's just gonna wipe out my entire table. So I am ready to go for a new year. I'm not gonna do that because I want to keep this, but it is the way that this page works. Now, I do want to say that this is not my bookkeeper whatsoever. I highly recommend, if you have a business, to have an external bookkeeper like a Xero or a QuickBooks or something like that that's doing some of these calculations for you for tax purposes and things like that. This is mostly just to give you an idea of your income, how it's measuring against the goals that you had per month, and then also what is bringing you in the most money each month and each year. Now, over here in the team section is where I have my team meetings, and then I also have my team member hub. So as I mentioned before, my mom does my bookkeeping, so I do have a nice little spot for her to come in and see her to-dos. She can see our upcoming meetings and then also any other pages that she might need to access, as well as her tasks for the day, the week, and then anything that's coming up in the future. And then I also have a little area for her to see the content status of what's going on, because she does proofread a lot of my content for me, bless her heart. So she can access that here too if she needs to. And then for my team meetings, I'll go ahead and take you into my September recap. It has not happened yet. I have a couple discussion points on here, but otherwise it is a blank slate for us to take a look at. You can write down any discussion points you have, any gratitudes or concerns that you have over the past month. Take a look at your current goals and your projects, as well as your income tracking. So you could take a look at your income for the last month and then look at it in a pie chart form as well, and then see the total income by month chart. And then we can also take a look at projects that are coming up next, as well as the annual planning calendar again to get an idea of what's coming up. And then there are some reflection questions here and a place to add any to-dos that come out of the meeting that you have. So there you have it. That's how I organize my business in Notion. Having my business organized this way has been crucial for my ability to grow and scale in my business over the past year. I went from working part-time to going full-time in my business this year, which is a huge win for me. And I couldn't have done it without my Notion template. So if you need a Biz Hub in Notion too, head to my shop to grab my exact business setup. Don't forget, this template is on sale until October 1st for 20% off, so grab it before the sale ends. Now, if you missed the personal side of my Notion and all that was involved with that, you can check it out in my 2024 Notion tour right here. I will see you guys in the next one.